Tulsi Gabbard once again told the uncomfortable truth.
In the last Democratic convention that was held, they made a big show of eliminating, saying one nation, awkward silence, refused to say under God.
Wow, I didn't know that.
And then she went on to expose why many within the Democratic establishment want God pushed out of the conversation, detailing the challenge faith presents to their ultimate plans. And today, we're covering it all. So if you enjoy content that cuts through the noise, hit that subscribe button and let's jump right into it.
Certainly an interesting angle, I think, to the political discourse at the moment is the strained relationship that people on the left have with God and faith, and this almost antagonistic relationship with religion and belief, but certain religions. What do you make of that?
In the last Democratic convention that was held, obviously it was held virtually during the whole COVID thing, but even saying the Pledge of Allegiance, they made a big show of eliminating, saying one nation, awkward silence, refused to say under God.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Even as they said the Pledge of Allegiance.
Oh, interesting.
Over Zoom. So, you know, seeing how today's Democratic Party is, you know, they are targeting Catholics and Christians primarily, trying to eliminate like God, really any mention of God from every facet of public life.
Hey, that's the party of inclusivity for you. At least until Christians enter the conversation. This isn't something Tulsi is making up to get publicity or to be edgy. It's actually statistically proven. Pew Research actually studied this phenomenon in 2024, and they found that Democrats have steadily lost support among several Christian groups while making major gains among people who identify as atheist, agnostic, or having no religious affiliation at all. Another interesting data point came from the Public Religion Research Institute, and their piece claimed the percentage of Democrats who are Christian dropped from 70 in 2013 to 58% in 2024. So in many ways, the party is catering to the coalition that it's built. But that's not the only shift that's happening, because their elected officials are also taking increasingly aggressive stances.
You had Kamala Harris when she was a senator on the Judiciary Committee going after and attacking and ultimately opposing a nominee for a judgeship specifically because he was an observant and devout Catholic and a member of the Knights of Columbus. They did the same thing with Amy Coney Barrett, who's now in the Supreme Court, with now since passed away, but Senator Dianne Feinstein warned against her when she went for confirmation before the same Judiciary Committee, saying, you know, I'm concerned the dogma lives loudly within you. All of these things going against our Constitution, which says there shall be no religious test to serve in any public office. Period. Where you can have your beliefs. You can be atheist, agnostic, Christian, Buddhist, Hindu, whatever, you know, your choice is. That is literally the concept of freedom, is not that you're not allowed to practice your religion in public and it's got to be just a private thing. You can do what you want.
The issue isn't that everyone in the party is anti-Christian, because millions of Democrats are Christians themselves. But the party's elite culture has increasingly treated traditional Christian beliefs as something to be attacked or mocked. For instance, at the 2015 Women in the World Summit, Hillary Clinton argued deep-seated cultural codes, religious beliefs, and structural biases have to be changed, while discussing abortion. Leaked pedestre emails also showed people in her orbit discussing conservative Catholics in a hostile way, with one message literally reading, Brigham Murdoch baptized his kids in Jordan, where John the Baptist baptized Jesus. Many of the most powerful elements of the conservative movement are all Catholic, adding, it's an amazing bastardization of the faith. They must be attracted to the systematic thought and severely backwards gender relations. And there's plenty of other examples in the past decade alone.
Where's this come from? Is this a contamination zone from trying to maybe upend some of the history of the United States? Is it that, you know, the sort of love of country and patriotism is right-coded, and so is maybe religious participation, right coded. And if we're not that, then it means that we're the, I don't understand, given that there's so many Americans who are religious, Christian, it just seems like you're shooting yourself in the foot and the face. Why would you do that?
A lot of the things that they're pushing fall into that category because they don't make sense, and they're so insanely radical. And so at its core, that is where this is coming from. It comes back to power and them seeing those who believe in God or who are following their particular spiritual path or faith as not being willing to bend the knee to the power of the Democrat elite and the positions that they hold in our government.
That's an interesting concept, and I'm going to let Tulsi expand on it in a minute, but I want to add that in recent years, there's been a rise of an activist faction within the Democratic Party. While many openly identify as socialists, historically speaking, traditional Christianity and state-centered socialism have mixed as well as water and oil. One places ultimate authority in God, faith, family, and moral principles that exist beyond politics, while the other tends to place far greater trust in government power. That's why you start seeing the revolution treat religious beliefs and God-given rights as obstacles to be managed rather than freedoms to be protected. With that in mind, it's time to play Tulsi's take on what she believes is driving this shift.
It was something that happened over time. I mean, Jimmy Carter was an evangelical Christian, and even when he was elected president, there were some people around him who were just like, oh, I don't know if this is like too much. Ultimately, at its heart, and again, I don't find any logic or rationale to the actual reasonings that they're giving, but at its heart, when you have a party that is controlled by people who don't believe in objective truth, that there are, for example, that there are biological differences between men and women, that they want to be the authority that tells us what is true and what is not true. They want to be the authority that tells us what is acceptable information, what is not, misinformation, disinformation, hate speech, violent speech, acceptable speech, whatever the case may be. They see themselves as that authority, and they recognize that those who believe in a higher power, whatever that may be, are not going to buy into them being that higher power or that authority.
Power and control. Those are the two things that it always comes down to. If you have it, you get to decide what's acceptable, what's moral, and dictate how people are expected to behave. Unfortunately for them, millions of Americans simply aren't interested in outsourcing those decisions to politicians and activists who are mere mortals. They'd rather follow their faith and personal convictions rather than whatever happens to be politically fashionable at the moment. What's especially interesting is how often the left talks about keeping religion out of politics and maintaining a secular public square. Yet, the moment that people start exercising their First Amendment rights based on religious beliefs, those same voices suddenly insist the personnel is political. What's especially interesting is how often the left talks about keeping religion out of politics and maintaining a secular public square. Yet the moment people start exercising their First Amendment rights based on religious beliefs, those same voices suddenly insist the personal is political. It's a contradiction they never seem willing to acknowledge.